What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the Babu Speaks the show. Babu Speaks. I'm Babu. You haven't guessed. And today we are we are talking about communication. So words have been around for centuries and then beyond. But you would think as long as it's been around, do we really know what it is? Do we actually put it to use? Do we utilize that word? And before we can continue on, I want everybody to understand the uh, dictionary definition of that word. So I wrote it down so I can relate it to you in layman's terms, or technical terms too, however you want to say it. I used to wearing glasses, y'all. Communication, the definition, imparting or exchange of information or news. Um, there was a few different definitions. I only wrote down two. One, the first one when I said the imparting or exchange of information or news. Second definition, the successful conveying or sharing of ideas and feelings. So there's multiple ways to communicate. Um, Exchange of information and news could be when you watch the news or TV or some instructional video. It is giving you information, and I guess in that sense, in exchange for your understanding and knowledge, if you understand it. Because sometimes a person can communicate something and the other person or the other entity did not understand or comprehend what they were communicating. But the fact that they communicated, whether you understood it or not, you could be like, hey, look, can you go in a little bit more detail and a little bit more in depth so that I can understand what the fuck you're saying? And that right there builds momentum for understanding because when whatever is being conveyed is or relayed is being understood, then both parties can benefit, whether it's something that you don't want to partake in or want to be a part of, or whether it's something that had you not gotten that further understanding, then you can be like, oh, I'm down with that. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I know where you're coming from now. Um, the successful conveying or sharing of ideas and feelings. That could go more on a personal human level where two people convey their feelings and their ideas about something. Just think about, you have a couple and they're like, one wants to go on vacation. The other one, they work all the time now. They probably need a vacation, but they're like not really on their mind. And if they're not thinking about it on an everyday level, then the person that they're with can kind of miss out a little bit without conveying those or expressing those feelings and sharing those ideas. So, for example, the wife would, you know, tell her husband, and she could be a housewife, she's in the house, like she needs to get out the house. He gets out the house all the time because he works a lot. And then she'll convey to him her feelings or desire to go somewhere on a vacation, whether it's to dinner, whether it's to out on the town for a night. And when she conveys that in a convincing way, because you know how y'all women are, and then he, hopefully being an understanding man, would be like, you know what? Yeah, we haven't gone anywhere in a while. Let's go ahead and plan something. She got the spark and the ball rolling because she conveyed her feelings. And he was able to um, quantify or validate her feelings because he was he was with it. He was like, all right, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's plan something. Let's see what our budget is and where would you like to go? Most men kind of give the women the leeway on that. Um, but Could you imagine if she was timid, scared, apprehensive for whatever reason, and she had these thoughts of wanting to go on vacation or wanting to go out to dinner or wanting to do anything and never said it, but basically had a conversation with herself. And then she started to develop animosity because of the fact that she thought, well, maybe he won't even be receptive to it if I say something about it. And while the whole while she's not even giving him a chance to be positive or negative either way because she's keeping it to herself. She's not communicating her feelings and conveying her ideas, and he's none the wiser. And he's now at some point with that animosity or that negative train of thought, she's starting to change her tone, her whole demeanor changes, and he hasn't got a fucking clue why. And now he's like, in his head, what the fuck is wrong with her? Like, she's literally standoffish. She don't want to talk. She's literally just like falling back and whatever her normal is. And he can see it clearly. And then he may come at her and say, hey, well, baby, like, what's wrong? Because they're a couple, they live together. So obviously, eventually, at some point, he's going to say something. But then she's like, oh, nothing. And she won't even give him a chance to say no to the idea that he has no idea about. Bad communication is horrible. Um, but also, there are some keywords um, from the Oxford language. I'm sounding intelligent today. Um, one is transmission, reporting, presenting, and then there's links, connections, and routes. And all those words have great meaning. Um, reporting is obviously informing information. Presenting is presenting something to someone. Links, things that connect things. Connections, which I thought was really great for this. Connections are things that come together. Um, when you don't communicate, you could, in effect, actually lose connection. Um, you could actually lose people as well. Because today's time, people are just so ready to run. They're so ready to just quit. Um, and it's not even because it's not that they're whatever is in their mind is invalid, but it's really, I would say, inappropriate to act on feelings based on trauma, based on whatever the past was, especially if the past isn't being repeated. If the past is not being repeated, then why are you acting on it as if it was? Because fear isn't a justification to one, not communicate. It is understandable, don't get me wrong, but it's not a justification to end something because of a fear. If you are in a situation and you are not putting 100% effort in, and communication is part of that effort. And most times that communication is it it leads to a lack of communication or there leads to things such as self-sabotaging, um, creating tensions. Because when the other person who does know how to communicate their feelings, are very in depth or emotionally, um, a strong emotional person or emotional intelligence, sorry, um, that knows how to communicate. And then when the other person literally disappears, essentially, the emotionally intelligent person literally becomes frustrated with worry. And then then they start to develop fears. Like, I don't know what's going on with this person. Like, what's boom, 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 boom. And then when you hear what it was, and a lot of times you're like, damn, why you just didn't come to me? It was like, we could have talked that out. We could have literally hashed that out and we could have literally just been good right now. but instead a day, 2 days, weeks, and now both parties are sore as hell, like, you know, frustrated, angry, whatever the case is. And now the relationship has damage to it. And that could be friendship, that could be, romantic relationships, work relationships, you know, across the board. Communication kind of sucks nowadays because everybody's so quick to use technology, and I'm guilty of it. I will send a book in a minute. And that book may not sound the same if we, on the phone or face to face. It just comes easier that way sometimes. But, at the end of the day, communication, think about it. If countries didn't communicate properly, we'd have a lot more wars going on. Think about all the wars that did not start because somebody communicated uh, properly. I mean, granted, back in the days when they didn't have, the technology that we have now, that pigeon didn't arrive, them folks probably got jumped on and attacked. You feel me? Like, and messenger by pigeon was a real thing. The postman, he literally had to fucking ride a horse for fucking 3 days to get somewhere. What if you got attacked by a bear on the way? That transfer of information or that delivery didn't make it because, you know, I mean, it was an unforeseen situation if that person was traveling through these, harsh conditions and through the jungles and mountains and so forth. But nowadays, in the 21st century, that ain't no fucking excuse no more. Phones work and they work both ways. If you unless you can pay your bill, then that's a different story. But at the end of the day, to shoot a text to to prevent losing someone that you care about, unless you don't actually care about them, then I guess it don't really matter. But if you claim to care about somebody, at somewhere, somehow, you're gonna have to find a way to fucking communicate your feelings, your concerns, your apprehensive thoughts, your intrusive thoughts, whatever you want to call them, and let that person know. Give them the opportunity to be that understanding ear or to be that asshole. And then once you shoot that shot and you send that communication, like, hey, is this the case? Hey, what's going on with this? Hey, why did you do this? Because the problem, and this is a big problem, and I've done it. And now here I'm talking about that I haven't been guilty of at some point or another. It's just not really something that I privy, or that I do often. But sometimes when we don't feel we can actually talk to a person, and we go find somebody else that we talk to, and we give them the consideration and respect and loyalty, if you will, about our situation. And sometimes though, that turns out to be a good thing, especially if you go to somebody that's wise, that's a fair person, that's not w- preying on your downfall, that's a true friend. Because a true friend, at the end of the day, when you go to them and ask for advice, they're gonna give you that shit straight up and they're gonna give it to you raw, a real friend. But then you got secret flying under the radar haters. And then when you go to them, first of all, they're already hating on you secretly. And then they're going to give you information that isn't necessarily going to benefit you. At the end of the day, when you seek advice from somebody, make sure it's somebody that is valid and it's somebody that's not. I mean, if they're not preying on your downfall, like everybody don't know enough to be for you to go to them, you know. Um, and at the end of the day, regardless of the advice that you get as an adult, as a thinking, supposedly intelligent adult, we should never just run with the advice without processing if it's good enough for your situation. Because at the end of the day, the person that's giving you the advice is not in your situation. They're not dealing with the person that you're dealing with. They're their person and they have their thoughts and their ways, and it doesn't necessarily is not necessarily going to benefit you and your situation. So you can't sit here and cookie cut out of somebody's advice and then go put it in your situation and be like, man, that shit didn't work. It's your fault. No, it ain't their fault. It's your fault. Fucking listen to them. And then you ran with it. And then one, you should have known better because you know your situation, you know the person you're dealing with. So at the end of the day, communicate, communicate. The more you hold, the more damage you can do. The more um, problems you can cause, and honestly, the longer it's going to take to actually solve and resolve the issue. Because you know, I did it a lot as a kid. I'd be like, oh man, the teacher wanted me to bring this paper home. I don't want to bring this paper home. Probably gonna get my ass whooped. I would stall my ass off and hope it just goes away. As a kid, that was very possible. I did it quite often. But as an adult and friendships, relationships, so forth, you ask that's a death sentence. It's not gonna go away. Especially if you're dealing with an intelligent motherfucker that can see through everything like it's clear glass. Like it's not gonna go away. You need to I can't tell you what you need to do, but it would behoove you to learn how to communicate. And this is for the entire world. Um, and communicate in a civilized manner. Because sometimes, let me tell you another thing that people do. Um, when someone checks them on something that they could have communicated in a better way and sooner, then you get people that like to spaz out or they like to be aggressive. Because one, they didn't want to talk about it to begin with. Two, they probably didn't know how to relate those feelings, and it comes out in an aggressive manner. Now the fact that one, you took forever to say it. Two, you came very aggressively, and if you have a mild tempered, humble type person, now you got them being aggressive and clapping back because, like, first of all, I've never talked to you like that. You're not gonna talk to me like that. And then now we got a whole situation. I mean, you could just be like, you know what? I can't afford to do this. Can you blah blah? Or I don't like it when you put the toothpaste on the left side, and he's been doing this for 6 months. Like now you want to let him make an issue out of it. Communication. It stops wars. It stops people from dying. It stops your mail from keep going to the wrong place. I mean, a little jokey joke, but at the end of the day, communication is a big deal. And then when you have to put a person on the defense, let's say you assume the worst about a person, and then you go and you talk about other people who actually care about this person, you know, a friend to that person, and then they're the ones that's relaying your fear. Now this person is really like, man, that's why you've been acting funny. That's why you did this. That's why you did that. If you'd have just came to me, it would have been like that. But now there's distance, there's growing, there's tensions, and then now there's damage. Not that it's irreparable, but like, how do we fix this now? Because if you didn't talk to them before, and now the whole outer circle, not even the inner circle, but the whole outer circle knows this. Now it's like, man, I feel stupid. I feel embarrassed. You feel me? And then now you're like, all right, I want to talk to this person, and let's get this resolved because this is not the case. This is not how you are or what you're doing or what have you. And then that person, hopefully, with a clear head, because they say clear heads prevail, will actually be like, you know what, that was really crazy. I can't believe that I thought that, or I can't believe I said that. I shouldn't have went to all these people because they ain't, never really been that close to me anyway to begin with. Blah blah blah. But again, that's what I was saying about when you go to different people, and especially like if these are people at any point in the past that's talked about you, how can you trust anything that they say about somebody else? Like we just gotta get it together, people. We gotta get it together. I look at technology is making the world, not just America, but making the world dumb as shit. These memes, this Facebook shit, like I post all the time about being out, going out, things of that nature, and that is a transference of whatever the story is. But the thing with that is when you make a post and you communicate that post, that news, and those ideas that you're putting out, you can't always control the people uh, that receive that. You don't even know where it's going. The whole world's got access to your Instagram. I mean, not everybody follows you, but you still can float through somebody's feed, somebody shares and tags you, and boom, boom, boom. And now there people see it. Now there people, and it just continues on. And then some people are going to formulate ideas based on how they perceive it, based on their personality, based on them. And they're like, man, all he does is party. I mean, I have a reason for everything I do, but at the end of the day, I can't control what people think. And then when I post on the internet, I make sure that what I'm posting, I'm good with. So I don't give a fuck what anybody else say about it. I've met a lot of people, nice people, in the strip club, in the regular club. I've had a job where I made $100,000 a year from somebody I met in the strip club. So at the end of the day, I don't care what people think. I'm gonna do me. At the end of the day, though, I don't try to be grandiose and make it seem like I'm living a life more than what it is. Some people may think it is. Hey, he's this and he's that. He's rich. No, I'm not rich. I like to not be at home all the time. So it is what it is. But some things we can control when it comes to communicating. Some things we can't. But when you're dealing with people and jobs, you definitely want to be careful how you portray yourself and how you communicate things because things can go left real quick. You know, um, and you can't talk to everybody because if you that type that likes to just run your mouth, no matter what it is, no matter what it's about, that's gonna bite your ass at the end. Can you imagine being at a job and you talk to someone about the boss or one of the managers or supervisor, and then that person is literally trying to buddy with that supervisor on the deal. They ain't really told nobody. You don't know, right? And you said something that probably wasn't the worst thing in the world, might even been true. But then yet and still this person who's kissing the boss's ass, they relay that to them. And now that boss has you have a target on your back because you went to them. And in the same breath, the motherfucker that literally used that information to their benefit, now they're talking to someone else that they think they can trust about the same boss. Like world's fucked up. People fucked up. Which is why a lot of times I have to make sure that I know who I can actually relay information to. I know who's solid and who's not. And then some things I'm just not gonna say no way because I I just don't want that to be misunderstood, misrepresented, or may not be, just appropriate time for that person to even know that. You can think what you want to think about people. You can feel how you want to feel about people, but when you release that shit out your mouth, you can't pull it back because it is what it is. You know, kind of like when back in the 1800s, 1700s, way back, when they released that bird with that note, and that bird said, "You know what? Damn, it's almost time to go south for the winter. I'm gonna go this way." And he don't go where he's intended to go because that was a real thing. Bird messengers, flight messengers, whatever. Um, that was a real thing, and you can't control animals but so much. And that bird don't go there, and that message doesn't get delivered, and it goes somewhere else that it definitely shouldn't have went. Now it's like, oh shit, these people are planning an attack, and they wanted to get the Romans to team up with them. Like, let's go get them because they don't have the help they need. Like, I mean, that could be life or death. At the end of the day, every misinformation and things that get let out isn't always life or death. But at the end of the day, learn how to communicate. If you're in a relationship, a romantic relationship, don't hold things to yourself. Keep things in the house. Talk to that person first. Don't talk to social media first. Because social media don't give a fuck about neither one of y'all. Dead ass. You got somebody that you care about, they're good to you. They're not abusive. They're not dominant. They're not just like just being a dick to you, man or women. Because there's some abusive ass women out there too. But at the end of the day, if you got somebody that you know is good, don't let one thing that reminds you of your PTSD, your trauma bond, don't let that, whatever it is, an assumption mess up what you got. because there are worse things than talking things out. You could literally lose that situation and get into a situation 10 times worse. Um, if you have a platonic friend and they said something to you that hurt your feelings, let them know. Hey, look, bro, I didn't appreciate that shit. That wasn't cool. And then, when you bring sometimes when you bring something to someone and they see the discomfort, the way that you feel about it, it could actually make a difference. But if you don't say nothing, why should they stop doing it? Communication. Communication is key. I used to hear that all the time growing up. Communication is key. So communicate your thoughts, communicate your feelings, let people know. Um, and the worst that can happen is it could be over with. You know, and they be like, "Fuck you" or whatever. They're letting you know that they ain't worth. They're not worth the fight. They're not worth um, working with at the beginning. I mean, at the end of the day, because a person that can't respect your feelings is not your friend. A person that can't take in consideration what you don't like is not your friend. And if you continue to move in a situation where someone just blatantly just says "fuck you," basically what they're saying, then you get what you asked for at that point. You know, um, and the block button is real, like you know. But anyway, I digress. But talk to people, talk to each other, let it be known how you feel. Don't be afraid to relay your feelings. Don't be afraid, and don't say it in an asshole way. Be civilized. Be intelligent. Be intellectual when you communicate it. Because if you communicate it in a ratchet way or ignorant way or dumb way, you can't really expect nobody to take you serious or respect where you're coming from. But if you really take your time, know some facts, know some things about it, understand some points that you can be making along the way to try to get your point across, that makes it easier for the comprehension and the understanding from the other side. Like, hey, look, I didn't appreciate the way you parked in the driveway because one, it just makes it hard for me to pull my car in beside it. Damn, that makes sense. My bad. But if you be like, look, motherfucker, stop parking like you do, you dumbass. Like you come like you gonna get it, you could get it back. Or you could hurt somebody's feelings and make them fall back and lose them just because they're non-combative, non-confrontational, don't want to talk to you. Like there's ways to relate and communicate to be so successful that you'll never ever have a problem. Like I tell people all the time, I don't have problems. I only have solutions. I'm going to fix everything. But I can't fix stupid. I've tried. Trust me, I've tried. I've tried to fix everything, including stupid, but you can't fix stupid. Um, some people are just gonna be that horse that will not drink, that has a cup in his hand, won't drink, or he's waiting for you to bring him a straw. Like literally, like it's not gonna drink it till you bring him. Like that's just how I be sometimes. But it is what it is. But I talk all day on this subject, but I'm not. Um, Side note, I am using a different sound card, so like, let me know what you think. The chat is open. Somebody say something. I see two people rolling right with me right now. Does it sound good to you? Can you hear me? Um, like, let me know. In the comments, like, share, subscribe. Um, and this episode is done.